Welcome to Locked On Golden Knights. Wasn't there supposed to be a goalie competition? We'll talk about that when we return.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Tony Cardasco along with Chris Golick. I am at Tony Dasco. He is at TD Chris G. We are at Locked On VGK on Twitter. And don't forget Locked On VGK on our brand new YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe today. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every morning, each and every day. And you could find our podcast wherever you find your podcast. So, Chris, I wanted to talk to you about, you attended the game on Friday night. And unfortunately, though, I wasn't invited to Bill Foley's ranch this weekend for that little retreat with the team. I'm waiting for the invitation still. But you were at the game on Friday night. VGK lost that game. They gave up 7 goals. And Adin Hill, in the Kings game, first of all, he gave up 2 goals on 9 shots, right? If I'm correct. And then he struggled again on Friday night, 7 goals on, 39 shots? You were at the Fortress. Give us your evaluation.
Not great. Definitely not a great performance. The first goal really concerned me that he let up, not on the shot from Carlson. It was a good pass from behind the net where Adin Hill just, unless the puck hits him, he's not going to stop it. But the concern was him gloving the puck and playing it to the defenseman right away, who seemed kind of surprised to turn over behind the net. And next thing you know, the puck goes in. So hopefully that's something that can get ironed out between now and let's say about October the 11th or so. As far as a goaltender competition, no, at the moment, there's definitely not much of a competition. The game itself, there were some fun moments, but just strictly looking at the goaltending side of it, he did make a couple of saves. Like he wasn't maybe not as awful as the 7-3 score suggests, but it was really bad. He did have some terrible luck in the third where a puck goes off the back of the glass, bounces off the top of the back of the nets, and then it hits his back and rolls in. That just summarized the whole game. But a lot of goals that you're watching, like, man, you kind of want that one back. You kind of want that one back. Not very memorable. Still a lot of fun to be back. Me and my son definitely loved being there. There was still a lot of energy, especially for a Friday night preseason game. But there's a little bit of concern right now. Don't get me wrong regarding Adin Hill, of course, that is.
So I'm concerned about his demeanor. What was he like? Because I was watching the game. I was at the UNLV football game on Friday night and watching the game on TV there as well. But what's his demeanor like, when he's letting up some really bad goals, and not all of those goals were on him. There was some shoddy defense. I think Kessel, had a turnover in front of the net but what's his demeanor like as he's letting up, a ton of goals? And could this slow start be the result of him still getting back into the flow following an injury that he had, a lower body injury that he sustained? Only played 25 games last season in San Jose as a result of that injury.
And that's the thing exactly. He played one game. He played a game in January. I think that's when his injury happened. He missed basically all the way. I think it was March 22nd or something like that. He shuts out the LA Kings, oddly enough, who are at the time in a big playoff chase. So that's certainly a big start. Doesn't play another game. And then all of a sudden, here we are in Las Vegas. So my perspective with Hill is I'm not overly concerned yet as far as how his output on the ice in the preseason goes. That's why it's preseason. His job is to simply get his feet back under him, get his timing and his coordination back. And when you're that tall of a fella out there, there's a little more needed in the coordination department when when you're, what is he, 6'5", 6'6", just he's a beast. He's a beast. And then add a few inches for the skates and all the weights of the equipment and everything. It's certainly not an easy thing to do. So I'm going to give him a pass for now. As far as the demeanor goes, 7 goals. I don't care if it's preseason, regular season, it's not going to be great, but nothing really stood out either. Like, I didn't feel like he was like, oh, woe was me out there. I was surprised to see him come out in the third. I thought Cassidy might have, non-verbally sent some type of message, said, hey, go out there and, you finish the game that you started. And, the 2 goals in the third, Phil Kessel, and that was concerning, folks. I don't know if the cameras caught this at home, but when Phil Kessel had that turnover, I put this on our Locked On Twitter handle. He fell down right inside the blue line, turned the puck over, someone scored, and that was that. But Kessel went immediately to the tunnel right after that. He went immediately down, and I thought he was hurt because he was pointing at his foot. He waved, I think it was Patera, out of the way so he can get down the tunnel so he can, whatever. But then he came back a couple minutes later. I don't know if he missed more than a shift or two. So I can only assume it was something, not necessarily a skate blade, because a skate blade you can fix like that. You just put your foot up, the equipment person just does it, and that's that. But something had to be up with the skates, maybe change skates or whatever it was. But thankfully, it was not a catastrophic non-contact injury, if you will, in the preseason.
Nothing that a little wine up at Bill Foley's ranch, couldn't solve.
Did you see the birthday cake that got tweeted out?
I did see the birthday cake. Where were they? Were they up at the ranch by then?
I
don't know. When did they leave to go to the ranch?
I don't know where that was, but it had the hot dogs on it. That was pretty funny.
That was pretty funny, actually. That was really good. Now, this does nothing to help out, I believe, Logan Thompson, because we thought that he would be pushed. We thought that there would be some sort of competition at the very least. You and I never wavered. We thought for sure that it would definitely be Logan Thompson's job to lose.
Yeah, no doubt.
But he didn't push, he's not getting pushed at all. Is that of a concern? Because, Logan Thompson's only played 20 games, right? Well, hopefully he's back in net, for the next game, because I think he just needs some more repetitions, not very many more, but some heading into the season. But without that lack of competition, that concerns me a little bit. It really does.
It's fair, but I think Logan Thompson's recent success is what matters, I think, in that department more than anything. I mean, crushed it before he made it to the AHL. No one knows anything about this guy when he comes to Las Vegas and plays for the Silver Knights. He's the best goalie in the AHL. Following season, he single-handedly helps get the Golden Knights within, I think it was 2 points of the playoffs when the dust settled or something like that. So Logan Thompson has succeeded at every challenge put in front of him. Every single challenge put in front of him. I know I made the joke about him possibly being traded, and I shout out to my friends behind us in section 217 and his family. We were gabbing about that, but I'm glad that didn't happen, because gosh, could you imagine if we were Adin Hill and some other random goalie along those lines coming into the season with Robin Leonard out? Ooh, that would be rough. So do I think Thompson needs the competition to be better? I honestly don't think he needs it, but it wouldn't hurt either. Pressure never hurts at this level. You always need to be looking over your shoulder as a starting goalie, unless you're Andre Vasilevsky or, a couple other goalies in the NHL. You always need to be looking over your shoulder because someone is looking to take that job. You look at what's happening over in Los Angeles between Jonathan Quick and Cal Peterson. Not the greatest example based on Jonathan Quick's age, but Cal Peterson's knocking on the door, and the only thing stopping him from getting 60 starts is Jonathan Quick. And Cal Peterson is probably the better of the two goalies, although huge kudos to Jonathan Quick for what he did at the end of last season. So who knows, I guess. Maybe that comment was absolutely terrible now that I think about it. But still, who knows, folks? Goalies always got to be looking over their shoulder.
Yeah. And your guy, Michael Hutchinson, was placed on waivers, and Jiri Patera goes back down to the AHL level. So where does that leave VGK for number 2? I'm really starting to get concerned.
Hill's the only answer right now. I mean,
yeah.
That's it.
We don't know about Laurent Brossoit. We're not sure.
You almost got me to say it again. Brossoit, I don't think we're going to see him anytime soon. I think that's the reality. Whether it's weeks, months, or the entire season, I don't know where we fit on that, but I feel like we're not going to see him at least a month, maybe more. And I don't think VGK wanted to go the first month or two of the season simply with Logan Thompson and then Patera behind, because that's what it would have been, obviously, given given the fact that Hutchinson obviously was put on waivers. So, and folks, that explains why Hutchinson kept the Marlies mask right there, because he knew what was happening. He might get picked up somewhere else. He might not. We'll see how that works out. But as far as the number 2, Hill, it's going to be Hill, and Hill's got a couple days to work it out. A little more than that. He'll have at least 1, if not 2 more complete games. It'll probably go like Thompson, Hill, or Hill, Thompson, Hill. Maybe it goes Hill, Thompson, and then Hill and Thompson chop up the last preseason game, something along those lines. But I do see Hill possibly getting more reps than Thompson down the stretch.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And without a solid number 2, what do you think Bruce Cassidy is working on up there at the ranch when he talks about goaltending with Adin Hill? What do you think their major concern is with him?
What do I think Cassidy's concern is with Hill?
Well, and the coaching staff, and Sean Burke, obviously,
fair enough.
The goalie coach.
I think it's just finding. I mean, I have his stats up here. That's why I've been glancing away. So, lifetime stats, he's been in the league since 17-18, just 49 games played, but he does have a save percentage over 90. That's something right there, I guess, just by itself. So, he is a competent goalie when called upon. As far as what they're going to work on with him to get him back, I think it's just getting him back in game shape. I think there is a lot to be said about a goalie that's played 1 NHL games going back to March, having a very long off season, just joining VGK. Plenty of time before camp, but he still had some time, where he was kind of in limbo, wondering where his next paycheck will be coming from, or not so much that, because it was a trade, but you got these goalies in the back of their head. They kind of know probably when something is up, when they possibly could be on the move. VGK is looking for a diamond in the rough with him as far as his contract, as far as the fact that he's been in the league now for 4 or 5 complete seasons. He's only played 50 games, so he's averaging 10 or so games a season. So VGK is taking a shot, and Cassidy, Burke, whoever else is going to be a part of that process are going to be working together, trying to find a way to make him now a competent backup. And this is assuming Brisson is out of the picture completely, all these statements that I'm making right now. They are going to find a way to get 25 starts out of him. Hopefully he goes about 500. Hopefully that save percentage stays north of 900. And we go from there. Or the other side of this is simply that Hill is a Band-Aid until Brisson comes back. But that's an expensive Band-Aid. That's an expensive Band-Aid if that was the case.
Was he out of position most of the night from what I could tell? Is he seeing the puck, not seeing the puck? What's going on there between the pipes?
Thinking back about the goals. So the first goal on him, as far as the play he created, which led to basically a one-timer in front of the net that he had no chance to save. Another one, he just got beat low coming in from the side. It didn't look very good at all. Just a lot of some rebounds in front of the net. Like it wasn't good. It was a combination of positioning. It was, I don't know much about his head game, in the sense where there's some goalies, if you score on the first shot or if you score early, they're toast the rest of the game. There's other goalies where if you go by and you as much as brush them and have a little bit of contact, they absolutely flip out and you're in their head the rest of the game. So I don't know how strong he is to bounce back when he makes a big mistake early in a game, and maybe that's what caused it. I don't know, but there was some spots where it was out of position. A lot of, I guess, I'll give myself credit for not making a Robin Lehner comparison until 15 minutes into this, but there was a lot of the Robin Lehner slow to recover moments out there. The puck's on the left side, he's on the right side, and kind of peeking over his shoulder and stuff like that. And again, I'm not knocking his physique. I'm not saying he's not quick as far as to react. I'm simply saying that he's a big goalie and needs to be able to make up for his lack of speed by getting more speed, if that makes sense. He needs to find a way to get left to right, right to left, and track the pucks. He's not going to be out there reacting like Marc-Andre Fleury. He's not going to be that's not the type of goalie he is. He's not going to be flopping around making these saves where it just looks spectacular because he's small. He's going to be boring. The puck is simply going to hit him a lot like Robin Lehner. And Lehner also can react when he's healthy, as far as making the nice glove saves and just making some saves that do look really, really, really good. Hill has to find that. And right now it's not there. But again, we got 8 days to go. until the regular season starts, or 9 or 10 or 7, whatever it is at this point. I think a week from tomorrow against the Kings, if I'm not mistaken. So he's got at least one more start to figure it out. And I think he will get himself back in that spot. VGK can't afford for him not to, folks.
Coming up next, the latest round of VGK cuts. We'll talk about it when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Our next partner has a product that I literally use each and every day. And we started to take Athletic Greens because I didn't have time to eat in the morning, especially. I wanted better gut health, more energy, optimize my immune system, all of that. Now it's been a few months since I started to take Athletic Greens, and it's really super healthy. It has kind of this mild tropical taste to it, and I actually look forward to taking it each and every morning. So what is this stuff? Well, with one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you are absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you to start your day off on the right foot. And I've also sent it to family and friends, and they really do like it as well. It is lifestyle friendly, whether you eat the keto, the paleo, the vegan, the dairy-free or gluten-free. It really helps you a lot. Contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, no artificial anything, and it really does taste good. It costs less than $3 a day, and you are investing in your health. You're investing in your life. It's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's really good, and there's a ton of testimonials, over 7,000 testimonials and 5-star reviews recommended by professional athletes everywhere. And right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with this convenient daily nutritional habit. Athletic Greens, it's giving you now currently free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your very first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. That's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and to pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick. That's a lot to talk about. First thing in the morning, I'll tell you, Mr. Golick. Were there any surprises in the latest round of cuts for VGK? On a Saturday, they announced all the transactions. Does this mean that Brendan Brisson did not get to go to Foley's Ranch since he got cut?
I don't know how that worked out. I'm not sure how much that was the motivating factor for the players to make it past this round. I think the surprise right now isn't necessarily who was sent down, but it's who is still there, and that's singly Paul Cotter, of course. Cotter is someone who I would simply put in the Dorofeyev, Quinney, kind of that world in the preseason. I thought Cotter would, probably have a good camp, but I didn't think he was ready to take that step. And something happened. I don't know what he did in the offseason. A shout out, he waved to my kid during pregame skate while he was on the bench all the way from across the ice. So shout out to Paul Cotter for that. But Paul Cotter, he's playing amazing. He had that awesome reverse hit, if you will, at the game on Friday night where I thought Cotter was about to get absolutely crushed. And I think he knew the player was coming in there and he just exploded, put the player right on his backside. And then he gave the stare down afterwards. So that shows some of that Vegas, what's the word I'm looking for? Flair, if you will. Flair is a good word to use.
Panache.
That's another good word to use. So the fact that Paul Cotter is still up there, that's the surprise. Just looking at it, highlighting a couple names. Brisson, I guess he's going to need a little more time, and that's okay. It's good not to rush him along. And I guess just looking at this as a whole, Brisson, Dorofeyev, Manninen, so on and so forth, this is a good line right here. Like the Silver Knights are looking like a very good team, and there might still be some more reinforcements coming. But, Manninen, Brisson, those were two players that we talked a lot about in the offseason. I thought one of them could possibly crack the roster, mainly being Brisson, but also once Phil Kessel got signed, that pushed everyone down one notch. So, I think it's more about which one of these players will be the first one up at this point, or, depending on how long Paul Cotter lasts in the camp, depending on where these players will be in the overall ranking as well.
Yeah, I watched that hit multiple times.
That was fun. That was fun.
Really on Nico Sturm. That's who it was. Nico Sturm, who goes about 6'4". He's a really big body, and he just gets walloped there by Paul Cotter. A couple of guys that I think Cassidy even alluded to the fact that they weren't ready yet. Leighton Ahek and Lucas Cormier, I think, are on that list. And that's among the group that's going to Henderson. On the downside, these guys are getting cut. On the upside, that Silver Knights team, I think, is pretty much loaded. I think today's their first day of practice, by the way, but I think they're going to have a really good squad this season.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I might even wind up attending more Silver Knight games as a fan than Golden Knight games, besides the games we get to cover and stuff like that. So I'm certainly looking forward to being at the Dollar Loan Center, checking these games out. And, let's see. I mean, hopefully this team stays loaded. If the team isn't loaded, that means, I guess, one of two things is happening. One, we have injuries, or two, we're looking for some more future considerations. But, yeah, I like the way this roster looks. Mainly want to see what Brisson and Manninen can do. And it's going to be a lot of fun checking out these games over there. It's going to be a lot of fun seeing what the future of the Golden Knights is going to be. Someone like Paul Cotter, you saw him play down a ton of games. Lecision, Ronbjerg, and they're still contending for a roster spot now with the big clubs. So it's a fun time, and I'm kind of rambling here, but that's okay because we're 8 days from hockey season. That's what I'm excited for right now.
VGK had 20 players suited up, and that's the minimum that you can have on the ice there for your team, pretty much. And then 25 is what I think you could carry on your current roster, right? But currently, so you have Will Carrier, who's still out with an injury, and we still don't know about Nick Hague. So those two roster spots are being filled currently by by Cotter and by Jake Leschyshyn? Who would you say?
I mean, what Korczak, right? The defenseman.
Yeah, Caden Korczak. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that.
Yes, he'll replace
right.
Hague, of course. Yes,
yeah, those would be the two, and
but
then
the two last roster spots, I would.
Right, exactly. So yeah, then you're probably looking at like your daily scratches, if you will, like Ronbjerg and Lecision, and insert maybe another defenseman here or something like that. That's probably how that will work. Of course, the salary cap roulette wheel will be spinning from day one, as it always is. Even if Nick Hague does not re-sign, it doesn't mean there's still not going to be pinching pennies and things like that to, little things you do now help later as far as the salary cap goes. I don't know exactly how all that works, but I know it somehow all these weird things that happen do help along the way. The Shea Weber trade also plays into this too. So always a lot of moving pieces with that. And yeah, I mean, I'm curious, I guess, assuming Will Carrier cannot start the season, which is what it seems like. Week to week is a term not used lightly, and that's what Cassidy and the staff alluded to. So I don't know if week to week means this is the week we're not going to see him, and next week we are going to see him. I don't know. And furthermore, I mean, has Paul Cotter possibly played himself onto the roster, even if Will Carrier is healthy? Could he possibly push Carrier or Kolesar out of the lineup? That is probably my biggest question, assuming Will Carrier is healthy coming out of camp. I mean, pardon me, you love what Carrier does on the ice. You love everything about him out there. Kolesar, I'm going to go back to my favorite stat line. I mentioned this even when I'm ripping cards all the time, and I pull a Kolesar rookie card or something like that. Kolesar was top 10 in hits, top 4 in scoring amongst those in top 10 in hits. That's a tough player to push out of any lineup in the National Hockey League. Can Paul Cotter do that? I don't know if now is the time for that. And then I guess the next burning question, maybe we'll hit once the roster is finalized, is does Paul Cotter benefit more from being on the NHL level and being scratched on an almost daily basis until his spot opens up, but still practicing with the big club versus getting the game repetitions at the AHL level? I don't know.
I was laughing there when you mentioned Shea Weber's name because I saw a photo of a fan that had a Weber jersey. He was wearing.
I saw that.
He was wearing a Weber jersey, which I thought was really funny because I'll never see the ice. Zach Dean and Jacob Burbanek are headed back to their junior teams, and so Man, it's crazy now as they're trying to get down to that final roster here with a week to go. Coming up next, we're going to talk and assess about how VGK is doing, where they're at through 4 games of the preseason. Back after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. And Chris, we wanted to talk about, our assessment of where VGK is at through 4 games of the preseason. Can't read into it too much. However, we have seen some things out there. Number one, obviously a major concern is goaltending. I think that's at the top of the list. I was wrong, and I admit it, about Jack Eichel and Phil Kessel together on the top line. I think that they have some chemistry. It's starting to brew, and we see what Eichel looks comfortable out there, and Kessel could lead the league in assists if he just stays out there and keeps feeding the puck to Jack Eichel. Paul Cotter, the biggest surprise, I think, of the camp. And Mark Stone, did you get an opportunity to see Stone? And I'm just wondering where he's at. Is he in hockey shape? What's currently going on with him? Because he will be a major piece to this VGK team.
I think Mark Stone is in hockey shape. I don't think he's in game shape. And that's not a knock on him whatsoever. He had, is having back issues. I guess that's the easiest way to explain that. And, I'm sure 9 out of 10 of us listening experienced some type of back issue. And now you combo that up with being a National Hockey League player, and it's not fun. Did he look bad out there? I don't think he looks bad by any means. Does he look like Mark Stone 3 or 4 seasons ago? Certainly not. But again, like Adin Hill, I think give that some time, and that should hopefully work itself out. Jack Eichel and Phil Kessel. On paper, I loved that. That was my kind of what I was hoping
said that all
to see.
along
I did.
From the time they made that acquisition.
Speaking of back issues,
you get credit. You get a ton of credit for that. Yeah,
that's getting harder to get back there with the back issues. But anyway, now I got to fix the hat. There we go. Okay, good. All right. I like watching those two out there. And just another tweet that I put out over the weekend from watching the game on Friday night. Our top 6, when they wanted to, and I say that I'll explain that comment in a second. When they wanted to dominate, they absolutely did. Starting with Jack Eichel, he did it again. It goes behind the net, goes to the blue line, goes behind the net, looks for someone, and he creates an opportunity. Tony, one thing you've alluded to a lot was people not being able to kind of keep up with Jack Eichel's pace of play and finishing ability. I was concerned on the very opening power play that the Golden Knights had. That felt like Eichel was not on the same page as everybody else. He made a couple real nice passes that just didn't connect, but I'm hoping that's simply something that needs to get worked out. So back to my comments about the top 6 dominating when we want to. The Vegas Golden Knights, folks, like it or not, are a veteran old team. Call it what it is. I don't know where they rank in the NHL, but I'm sure they're in the top half as far as age goes, if not in the top 10 now. So they don't need training camp. They do not need training camp any more reason than to simply go through the motions, get out there on the ice, put the different jerseys on, and just make sure they're working the little things out. The results of these games mean absolutely nothing. I'm sure Sharks fans are elated because they're either 4-1 or 5-0 or something like that. So I'm sure there's another banner going up pretty soon up there in San Jose. And also, what's with Locked On San Jose throwing shade when I give them a compliment about their jerseys? But you're a bunch of clowns up there.
Please explain.
Yeah. So, folks, me and my kid are right behind the net in warmups. I liked the way the Sharks jerseys looked. Okay, folks, they looked good. I liked them. I thought the teal on teal was a really nice look. I made a comment to Chris, my son, and he thought the same thing. So I tweet Locked On San Jose Sharks. I say, hey, these jerseys, and I start off unpopular opinion because I am a Vegas Golden Knights truther, but I thought the Sharks jerseys looked good. And then instead of saying, oh, cool, that was nice, I get some comment about better than the mustard jerseys, on the other side of the ice. Like, come on, just go. You guys can pound sand for all I care if you're gonna fling that crap my way when I give you a compliment the rest of the year. But that said, now I did have a Sharks fan next to me. I forgot the gentleman's name. It was his 30-something birthday. They came down to Las Vegas. He was all nervous being a Sharks fan, and we were shooting the breeze the whole time. He probably had a few. I didn't because with my kid, but he had a few. But we can get along. It's okay, Golden Knights and Sharks fans. We don't have to have all this hate and animosity as long as we're nice to each other. But when we are nice to each other and, they get mad at you or they make a comment back after you're being nice, then, whatever. I can say a couple other things to that. But back to my point, VGK is old. They don't need these games. They just need to get the timing back. I don't look at the Golden Knights as a team that are going to contend for the division this year. I don't think they're that type of team. Are they going to be somewhere comfortably in that second and third playoff spot and not have to even worry about not making the playoffs? I don't think that is going to be the case at all. But come playoff time, this is also the type of roster that can take it to a new level. I really think this team is built for a long playoff run. Goaltending is the asterisk, though. Goaltending is going to be the asterisk until Logan Thompson continues to prove to us that he's the man and that we have someone to help him, because he can't play 65 games. I'm sure he thinks he can, but 65 starts, that's going to be too many if that's what he needs. Come playoff time, that would put us in a rough spot.
Trade deadline or bust for VGK. That's what they're going to have to do, is just kind of hang on. They tried to hang on last season to get healthy bodies back. Well, this year they're going to be hanging on until that NHL trade deadline to acquire an NHL caliber, playoff caliber goaltender, someone with experience.
The trade deadline is going to be fun, period, Tony. The trade deadline is going to be very interesting because we got the salary cap going up now in basically every year for the next however many years until there's another CBA. So, and it's going to go up bigger. I know there's reports. My dad pointed all this out to me not too long ago, but the NHL is doing well financially, so they're trying to excel the salary cap increase, which means teams are going to be a little more splashy, if you will, come deadline time. Chicago, obviously, Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews, that's going to be the number one and number two watch all season long. I think Kane gets moved. Toews just might want to retire a Blackhawk. He has that type of loyalty, and that's not a knock on Patrick Kane whatsoever. Just I think Kane and Toews are wired a bit differently, and I think Kane simply needs that competition for a Stanley Cup as he's getting to the latter part of his career. There's going to be other players on teams that maybe don't do as well that are going to become sellers and things like that. And you never know what type of injury might present itself for the Vegas Golden Knights, because if one of our players that are 5 million or greater goes down, something's going to happen, folks. Something is going to happen, whether it's a 2 or 3 or 4 or 6 team trade with maybe they even involve an ECHL for a trade to get them to eat some of a contract. The Vegas Golden Knights, they will be wheeling and dealing. It reminds me I'm from Chicago, big White Sox fan, not a Cubs fan. Don't ever say I'm a Cubs fan. I'm a big White Sox fan. And we had Ken Williams. Remember Kenny Williams?
Yeah, Kenny Williams. Yeah.
He would just fire every single year. He was like playing John Madden football, just making trades all the time and free agents, and Jim Thome coming on and getting his 2,000 strikeouts. But hey, he hit 50 home runs, so it's all good, right?
Right. And I'm from the George Steinbrenner. From those roots too. You were talking about the salary cap. Okay. So this season it's $82.5 million. It goes up $1 million next season to $83.5 million. In the 24-25 season, $87.5 million to
that's huge right
million.
There. That's big right there.
But then the bigger jump would be 25-26. These NHL players will finally be able to afford a gallon of gasoline here in Las Vegas, approximately $92 million. So that's going to help. It's going to come into play. And for a team that just spends money, that's a huge jump there over the course of the next 3-4 seasons to go up exponentially from 82.5 to 10 million more to 92 million. That's big, right?
It's big, and of course, if
they could afford
McCrimmon can stay employed
by
between now and then, he's going to have a blast, right?
Yeah, and he will have a blast. Open checkbook, and Nick Hague, they might be able to afford to sign him by the 25 season.
What the Monday for Nick Hague for still not having a contract? He gets
You're blaming Hague. Why are you blaming him?
Every day.
No, you can't blame Nick Hague.
I blame Nick Hague if he wants. I blame
Nick
Hague if he wants more than Zach Whitecloud money. I blame Vegas Golden Knights if they won't pay him $2.5 million. You know what I mean? Like if VGK is saying take $1.5 million and like it, then VGK is missing the boats. If Nick Hague is saying I want $3 million or greater, then Nick Hague is the problem. And we don't know. I really haven't seen anything beyond the sides aren't close. I haven't seen any one of our colleagues, if you will, now make comments about what the difference is in the money. But if Nick Hague is trying to get a penny more than what Zach Whitecloud's making, then that's a big problem, in my opinion.
Okay, so you were up there in section
217,
row Q. So you got, that's a good view of everything that's happening on
Oh,
the
I always
ice.
see everything.
Yeah. So structurally, I wanted to ask you this question.
Well,
Were there
okay.
any noticeable differences in what they were doing structurally?
No, I'm glad you brought this up. I think I might have started to put this out, but I realized it was a tweet that was not going to be easy to explain. So under DeBoer and Gallant, the power play breakout was pretty much the same. A defenseman carries the puck to somewhere between the blue line and the red line. They either make an entry pass, or most of the time they drop the puck back to a forward that has a lot of speed coming out of the neutral zone. Now the attack is much different. All 5 players are rushing at once. It is a much faster breakout. I felt that the entries were not as smooth as they have been using that play where they drop the puck back. Am I saying this is better or worse? Of course not. It's a new system, something I have not seen in 5 seasons as far as the way they bring it up. So I think the goal is to have more speed through the neutral zone and an extra option, because when you have the player coming up, I'm sure there's a name for whatever this is called, by the way. So if someone knows what the name of these particular breakouts are, please go ahead and tweet us and let us know. But when you have the player that drops the puck back to someone else who has speed, now you've taken that player out of the equation, at least temporarily, coming into the zone. So maybe the advantage to whatever this system is, where all 5 players are rushing in at the same time, is you're trying to find a soft spot, and it might just simply take one pass between our blue line and the red line to spring an odd man rush. So pros and cons to everything that gets done. And I would be curious to go back and watch some tape of some old Bruce Cassidy power plays with Boston and see if this is the same thing, if this is a Cassidy thing, or if this is Cassidy just, shaking this up because he and the coaching staff thinks this is what needs to be done. That's the only thing I really noticed differently about the structure.
1-2-2. Did you see it materialize through the neutral zone?
I mean, I don't know. When they're giving up 7 goals, it's kind of hard to get into a flow of the game, so to speak.
Right.
I really didn't feel like. So thinking back now that you got me here, I'm glad you asked that question, because there was a few times when San Jose executed a stretch pass from behind their blue line and sprung an odd man rush. So I thought the 1-2-2, the point of this was to take less chances across the neutral zone. That's what Cassidy himself said to a degree. And I felt there were some soft spots basically for these, 90-foot passes being executed flawlessly, leading to either breakaways or rushes from the side. So that's a difference right there, I guess, but not a positive one, unfortunately. But again, it's, there's 3 games left of training camp. I'm sure Cassidy got the crack the whip a little bit over the weekend, or he will once they get back from their little siesta up at Foley's place.
A lot of wine being passed around up there, and VGK back on the ice, I think, later this afternoon. We'll see if that paid off to get a little rest and relaxation up there at Mr. Foley's ranch. That'll do it for today's show. We thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NHL. Locked On experts give you a daily 30-minute podcast on all things National Hockey League, and that happens all year long. Stay up to date on everything in the hockey world. Locked On NHL, your daily 30-minute NHL podcast. For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco. So long from Las Vegas. We'll see you tomorrow right back here on Locked On Golden Knights.